Welcome to the Agent Upgrade Podcast with your hosts Jasmine and Alan Corey, where we learn the strategies of top producing real estate agents so you have the tools to upgrade your own real estate career.
All right, boys and girls, I'm super excited about today's show. We've got an amazing guest on, Anna K, who is Anna Kilinski. She's an amazing real estate agent, investor, mother, powerhouse of a woman that I think we are going to have such a good time picking her brain and figuring out what it takes to become a real estate agent that, you know, can look back on her accomplishments over year to date, or not year to date, I should say life to date, and say like, well, I've closed about, give or take about $500 million in transactions, right? So I'm very excited. What about you, Alan? What are your thoughts?
I think anyone who's been doing this for at least a year and does their business in town, you've probably done a deal with Anna K in town, Anna Kilinski and her team. You nailed it. The powerhouse. It's also real estate royalty. She's everyone strives to be Anna K, and I'm so excited to have her on our team or on our show so we can pick her brain about her and her team. So let's get into it. All right, Anna, thanks for joining us here at Agent Upgrade.
So happy to be here. And like a true real estate agent, I'm at a coffee shop working out of my trunk.
Yeah. So guys listening, even Anna K does this. Like this is it doesn't stop. It does. You start your life in a coffee shop, and you're even at the pinnacle, you're still working out of a coffee shop.
You're still working at a coffee shop.
I like it. To me, that makes every day a little bit different. And honestly, I know we bumped into each other in a lot of coffee shops, and we probably both find clients there too. That's not why we're there, but it ends up happening. So. Let's get started, Anna. So I know you've been in the business for a while and you've grown your team. Can you kind of give us how you got started in being an agent and how you grew so fast?
Absolutely. Well, fast is relative. Are we talking snails or rabbits? I'm just kidding. So yes, I have been in the business for 15 years now. I think I just ticked from 14 to 15. And I have been very slow and methodical. A lot of people like to mirror and match and put people on a pedestal that they've seen that have reached the top of their career, the top of the board, the top of their office or whatever, but they don't really understand the journey on necessarily how they got there. And I am so enthusiastic to be able to share my journey, and hopefully if anybody's listening that is just trying to get started or just trying to take that next ceiling of achievement and break through that. We all hit plateaus in our career, and I feel like I've hit a lot of those and have had a lot of failures. So I'm happy to open any door you want to go through today. So 15 years ago, I would say that was probably 2007. And if anybody has been in the business that long, you understand what type of environment I was entering into. That was probably one of the wildest markets of all time. People were paying top dollar for homes. Might sound familiar. But what happened after that was different than something that we may ever experience in our lifetime. And it certainly had ever been different than what I had experienced in my lifetime. So 2008, 9, 10, and 11, real challenging for our real estate industry. But what was really great about that for me is that I didn't know the difference. I just kind of came into it new and everything was great, but I wasn't having any traction. I was working for a local builder, wasn't trying to sell real estate until 2008. And my very first sale was a $64,000 one-bedroom condo, which was a foreclosure. And the stack of paperwork was about this thick. And I learned about everything that I needed to know in that moment. And since then, almost every transaction has been easier than that. So I was really grateful to cut my teeth the hard way. And I think that's one thing I want to tell anybody that's listening that's trying to find traction in this market is be okay doing the hard things and doing them earlier in your career such that you have a really wide tool belt of things that you can pull from so you can serve a multitude of different clients. So that was where I got started. I want to say the rest is history. I hired through, just growth and failure. I think that I did not start adding leverage to my team until I understood that I had maxed out my ability to perform and what I was capable of taking on. And then I would slowly start to bring in leverage. And our model here at Keller Williams is that we start with operations before we hire sales talent, because if you don't have a framework for systems and processes and how you do things and be able to leverage those salespeople, then you're just going to have a lot of people that are trying to take charge and sell a lot of real estate with no back end systems or processes. So that's pretty much how I got started, and I'm happy to unfold that depending on what direction you want to take this.
Yeah, no, that's great. That was my follow-up question, was how do you know when you make that transition? It sounds like, yeah, you had more than you could handle. You got that operations person. How far into your career was that?
So I'll back up and I'll answer a question that you didn't ask that helped me understand, like, when was that the right time? And I will tell you that I probably didn't do it soon enough. Looking back at my career, there's two things that I would have done differently. One of them was I would have hired leverage sooner, and I would have decided that I'm going to spend all of my time either doing something that brings me joy or doing something that makes me money.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't fall in one of those two categories, I need to get it off my plate. And I didn't do that soon enough. And I'll answer your question to that. And then the second thing was hiring a coach earlier in my career. So those are the two things I would have done differently. But thinking back when I hired my first admin, was a contract to close coordinator that was paid per transaction. And I think at the time it was like $295 per transaction. It's gone up a little bit since then in the last 15 years because, inflation. And so I had this person who I paid basically $50 if it terminated, or $295 at closing, which was a lot of leverage for me because I didn't want to have to chase down the lead-based paint signature or get that, buyer brokerage extended, to a certain date. So there's all the little nuances of paperwork that just was not my joy. I got off my plate. And I would say I did that probably year 3. And I think I was probably around the 5 million mark when I did that. I think for new agents, that needs to be something. First of all, you should have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 transactions where you understand the process, and then you need to ditch that and delegate that immediately. Mm-hmm. That's not a dollar productive activity for us salespeople.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in my business that goes like hiring a processor immediately. That's what you got to do, and it's the same thing. Like, yeah, I can process my own file, right? But you got to get that person in that's much better at it. So I find that, so once you have how do you make, so there is this feeling you have a contract to close person working for you, right? But how do you make that transition from just hiring somebody on a per file basis to saying, okay, I need somebody that I'm going to pay $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 a year to be my person? So when did that come? When did you make that shift from just being a contract to permanent?
Well, so 2 things around that. I remember my dad is in real estate. He grew a brokerage in New Orleans. He never sold real estate, at least not on purpose. That's what he says. But I remember telling him, that I felt like I couldn't afford a real estate assistant. Like I can't afford help, Dad. Like that's just going to break me. And he said, if you had an assistant, you could afford an assistant. And that was a big eye opener for me to understand the value of my time and how I spend it. And the other paradigm shift that I kind of went through was that I'm not spending $50 or $75 or $100,000 on this hire. I'm spending 3 months of their salary. I'm doing a 30, 60, 90 trial period, knowing that, like, look, we're taking a risk on each other. You want to get into the real estate business? I need somebody who's sharp and talented. I'm willing to lay 3 months investment on the line for you to make a difference in my business. And if you're not seeing that return on investment, why are you going to continue to pay that salary, right? Mm-hmm. So you're hiring somebody who's talented, who's willing to say, I know that I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to take that risk. I want to get into the real estate business, or I'm coming from this other organization and I crushed it there, so I know I can crush it here. Mm-hmm. And they need to be taking things from you, not putting things back on your plate, such that you can go do those things, lead generate, go on buying and selling appointments, negotiate contracts, go to closing. Mm-hmm. That's your job description as an agent, right? Yeah. Not all those other things.
And I love one of the first things that I noticed about you is anytime I send you an email, I get a response with, these are the people you need to contact, and I'm like, that is brilliant, right? Because right then and there, Anna's not going to write back to this email. One of these people is going to write back, right? And so we just those people are the ones taking things away from you all the time, right? So you're not in at this point, no matter how many transactions we have actually done together, I don't think you and I have ever sat there and exchanged emails about a transaction, because your team.
No. And when I hopped on, I was going to be like, "Oh, it's Jasmine. So good to see you." Like,
yeah, that's so fascinating. But that just goes to show how well oiled your machine is.
Well, it's not a perfect machine, right? I think every day we're doing continuous improvement. We have this motto on our team called the 1 second improvement. And it's not about being a 1 second improvement, but if you have a task that you do hundreds of times a day, like check email, or you do something that takes a lot of time or takes a lot of frequency of your time, if you can just put something in place, a system, a process, or something that allows you to get that time back, it's exponential. Right. So while I do still check my email and you can still get a hold of me and I do still return my phone calls, there are just certain things that are not going to get all of my equal priority attention out of the gates. Right. So if you're emailing me, I'm just going to tell you, look, you might need something from us and you think it's me, but you don't really need it from me. And here are all the people that can help you. And usually people find their way. And I also find that if I just let a little bit of time pass, most people self-solve their problem.
Yeah.
So I pulled up an email, this auto email that I get. Do you mind if I read everyone that?
Sure. Yeah. Take notes, people. Take notes.
This is great. Yes, it's if you need immediate assistance, who to contact. Here's my listing partners, and you list 2 of your listing agents. Listing manager, who's sort of what offers and customer service, it says, right?
Marketing, yeah.
Client and closing concierge, 2 people on your team, transaction manager. And then it says by buying partners, you list the 4 agents on your buying side, and then your operations manager, who's and what they're responsible for. Do all these people monitor your inbox, or do you just quickly forward it on, or are you? Yeah.
No, my operations manager monitors my inbox, and she's busy too, right? So I actually have, this is kind of goes down a rabbit hole here, but I have a whole email filing system. There's actually this YouTube video called Inbox Zero, and I forget if that's the exact title, but it teaches you how to set up your inbox. And I have a number of filters. I use the technology Sane Later. So I get all like my newsletters and like my notifications on like who's on my, I get all this junk out of my inbox, and I look at basically the things that are the most priority in my inbox for people for me to follow up with. And I have a system of snoozing. And if it's not something I can do and I can give it to somebody else, or I don't want to do, or I have somebody that can handle it, I get it off my plate ASAP. But I just took a week-long vacation with my family skiing, and I had my operations manager in my inbox. And it was probably the first time in a number of years where I just went and was like, you know what? She's going to handle it.
Yeah.
She did an entire website migration with a lot of fires that popped up without me having to step in, because she had a handle on everything. So it's just do it, delegate it, ditch it.
That's awesome.
I love it. Do you find yourself also surrounding yourself with helpers or doers outside of the business part of it? Like in your day-to-day life, have you also found ways to delegate portions of your life that you don't necessarily have to do yourself?
Yes. My husband probably doesn't like that he makes a verbal cameo on all of my sort of podcast talk teach spaces. But there was actually this, I respect, as my husband and a man, he wanted to like do his own lawn. He's like, look, I take pride. I want to push my lawnmower. It's good. Well, there was one day where our neighbor actually came over and mowed our grass for us because it was so outrageous. And I said, that's the last time we're going to have this exercise. And we hired a lawn guy on the spot. And that's just one of many people we have us with our house. Because look, I've got 2 young boys. I don't want to spend the weekend picking up yard leaves. I'm working too hard. I want to watch them grow into young men. I want to spend time with them at the park. I want to go on vacations with them. I want to relax a little bit. I want to do other things. So we have a housekeeper that comes twice a week to tidy up. We have a house cleaner that comes every other week to clean the grossness on the baseboards and like everything that needs to happen in life. And, inside of our business, we have a runner. I have a bookkeeper that handles all my personal and my business stuff. Like there's so many things that this life takes from us that if you're trying to do it all and you're trying to create mastery of it all, you will literally have nothing left to give.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, it took me a really long time to get comfortable with that because I am a self-prescribed control freak. I want to know about everything. I have to have my hands in everything, but I don't have to be the one that does it. I can understand it without having to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can have, if you can hand off those things to people that you trust, then you can just let go. I know what's happening. I don't necessarily have to, file all those transactions myself. I can have a bookkeeper doing this for me. Or, because I feel like when you have a big team, when you have a big business, there's a lot of people that are always asking for your attention. But at the same time, you are a mother, right? That is like our number one thing, right? We want to be around our kids, especially while our kids are little. And I find that some agents, especially some newer agents, find that to be really difficult. So I find that outsourcing other parts of your life is how you get your time back to do those things that only you can do, right? Which is be a mom and run the show. You don't necessarily have to do it, but you know what's happening. And I feel like we need to give ourselves and other women permission to say, like, you don't need to freaking clean the baseboards. It's okay, but that's not your highest and best use of time right now.
And I don't want to do it. Like if I were myself 15 years ago or 10 years ago, and I had some lady on some podcast telling me that I need to outsource all these things in my life, I would immediately go to my finances and I would start stressing.
Yeah.
But if you actually really understand what your value is, your dollar per hour worth, and you start understanding what you pay these people to, now certain things you're going to pay because you just want time and joy. Right.
Exactly.
But there are certain things you're going to get off your plate, like bookkeeping. Like I stink at QuickBooks. That was not my thing. I was like 6 months behind. I didn't have a P&L every month. I didn't understand how to run my business. And then now I've got this like top-notch lady doing it for $300 a month. And it's like, to me, that is like so much off my plate. It allows me to be a better business owner. Right. Yeah. So take that across each of your areas of your life and say, what is my time worth? If I spent that same amount of time on the phone lead generating for 1 or 2 or 3 more opportunities, could I make 100x?
Yeah.
100x.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to
what I'm squabbling about.
Yeah, well, that's where you go back to where at the beginning when you said you only want to do what you enjoy and what makes you money, and if those things overlap, well, then the sky's the limit. But
absolutely,
but it would take you an hour minimum to do your bookkeeping every month, maybe longer. But you could probably make $300 in an hour cold calling or whatever, right? Or showing some clients and another house. So yeah, you're leveraging someone else doing the work so you can focus on stuff that you're good at and that you enjoy. Which reminds me of a book that Jasmine, you read recently, the Who Not How.
Who Not How.
I don't know if you've read that one, but
it's on my list.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's a similar concept where who can get this done, not how can I get it done in my busy schedule kind of thing.
And I'll give you a little tip of something that I just started implementing just a handful of years ago. I mean, am a very hands-on trainer teacher. So like when I've got a new staff member, but in those 15 years, I've had a lot of turnover because either we've outgrown the person or they took another opportunity or whatever, right? I'm growing as a leader. I didn't get into real estate saying, I want to lead a team of 12 people or 15 people. I just said, I want to sell lots of houses. And now I'm trying to work through that. So in order for me to leverage myself, instead of every time me showing somebody how to do something new, let's say I've had 5 operations managers in the 15 years. Instead of me having to show that every time I get a new staff person, this is how you do this thing, I have a program called Loom. I pull it up on my computer. I show them once and I video record it. And now my operations manager is just building this massive training repository on how we do everything.
Yeah.
Set up a search, call for feedback, find the right agent for handling a referral, how to manage my inbox, like whatever it is, there's a video for it. And it's been a game changer.
Is your operations manager virtual or work in an office, or how's that set up?
We're primarily an in-office company, and
Yeah.
that's a lot to do with culture versus control.
Yeah.
We are actually moving to a new building that I just bought around the corner on Edgewood, which
Congrats.
is around dealing with the renovation right now. But
Yeah.
we love the energy that we have when we're all together, but also we need bunker time. So we have a couple of flexibilities in terms of our staff and what they're able to do. And our agents, of course, they're 1099, so we can't dictate, but we could say this is what we'd like to see happen. And if you're not reaching your goals, we're going to have an opinion about it. But for the most part, people really love to come in. They lead generate together. The operations team has a meeting. We have our team meeting on Wednesdays. So we have a nice flow. Sometimes it's really loud and chaotic, and sometimes it's like, are we a real estate office? Right here.
I love it. I love it. So do you feel like that your main job is really being the marketer and bringing in the deals? Is that like, because there's all these leads that come in, and every single person that comes to me through you guys is like, we're working with Anna K and her team, right? We're working with Anna K and her team. It's never like, oh, so-and-so referred me. It's always Anna K and her team. So I feel like you are always the brand. You are it. You are the brand. You are the person that everybody goes after. So do you feel that is your main job, is being on social media and everywhere? Is that who you are, is like the marketing machine, or how do you?
It probably should be. I'm not right now. And that's something that's really on my goals, is to be more present. So just so you know a little bit about where I am in my journey, 2020, and again, this is all in transparency here. 2020 was a really hard year in our organization. At the time, it was our best year ever. Because Alan knows, like, and you guys know, the market, we thought we were all going to die. Like everybody's like, was like, how am I going to pay my bills? And all of a sudden the market like halted and then exploded. Okay. So 2020 was our best year ever in terms of volume at that time. We had a 2021 banner year. We're on track for a 2022 banner year. And there's a lot of factors with that. But after 2020, I parted ways with / lost about half of my team in February of 2021. And that was a really big eye-opener for me, that it was like, okay, we're top grading, we're getting some of the right people on the bus, putting the right people in the job roles. And I was very, very much in production at the time. And when this happened, it literally exposed to me that I had a house of cards. Okay, that I could not step away, that the business 100% relied on Anna K to be ever present every day, doing things, selling real estate. And while that is amazing and really great for my ego, that is not actually what I want for my life. I want to be working on the business and not so much in the business. So I rebuilt I had some existing talent. I had some existing amazing employees. And then we built upon that with the people that wanted the culture to change and to improve. And we've changed a lot of things around how we do business and our standards of doing business and how we treat each other, frankly. And once that was in place, it allowed me to start to step back from sales. So it's really interesting to hear you say, like, everybody says Anna K, Anna K, Anna K. I probably don't talk to a fraction of the people that we buy and sell houses with. And I couldn't pick them out of a 2-man lineup. They wouldn't know me who I was on the street. Maybe if they saw my Instagram, that's great. But my job has evolved into pouring into our existing talent to represent the brand, that we all talk the same way. We say the same things. We have the same value proposition. And I really want to expose their talents. Like, you'll see John Ryan Alexander and Ashley Skeen DeVay and Elizabeth Martin all on our social media, because it is not just me. But my name's on the door. So I do have to protect the brand, and all of our marketing and all the things that we do represent Anna K in town. But Anna K, the person, I don't need to be at the top of the stack. You know, I feel like getting them what they want is going to get me what I want. And I think that just shows up because we've got the right people. You see what I'm saying? I've been in business with people that really want to advertise their individuality, and it becomes an ego thing. They don't understand how the whole is more together, and they're just trying to be the star agent versus being a star team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. there's something I've struggled with. I think I'm getting better at it. But let's say you have a client that says, Anna, I want to work with you. I don't want to work with anyone on your team. I want to work with you. I trust you. How do you respond to that?
Very simply, especially if it's somebody I've worked with in the past. I said, listen, I am so flattered that you've, considered working with us again. And I said, look, things have changed since we last worked together. We've grown a very well-oiled machine. And while you worked with me in the past on the buy side, I've, let's say I'm a listing agent in this case, right? I've actually moved to more of a specialized position where I'm primarily working with sellers, and I want to make sure that you're getting the best service. And we knew that the buying side and the selling side are also very different. So I've developed a team of specialists that's out there every single day looking for inventory in the market that I'd love to have you have a conversation with so you can learn about what they do. They're probably out there previewing the property that you're going to end up buying, and that's their job to know about everything that's on the market and off the market. And when it's time for you to sell, that might be something that you and I have a discussion around. Would that make sense?
That was amazing.
Or if I'm not in the business, I just tell them, look, my job is to grow leaders that do it better than I could have ever. Yeah. And when I was just me working with you, I didn't have all the support around me. And now I've got this amazing support. And what you're going to get is a very highly specialized experience based on your needs. I've got an investment specialist. I've got a seller specialist. I've got a buyer specialist. I have a contract to close specialist. I have a marketing specialist. You get all that by just choosing us, right? So don't be attached to the person, be attached to the results. Mm-hmm. And most people have no problem with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sold. That was great. That was beautiful. I see why you're good. I knew why, but maybe our listeners hearing you for the first time, that's an amazing sales pitch. I want to switch gears a little bit. So on the hiring side of your team, do you make your agents specialize on either selling or buying?
We traditionally have, and we've moved a little bit more towards a hybrid model, but I would say that the way that we new agents, because I think that buyers, while it's a little bit harder to represent buyers in this market right now, I think it's easier to learn the market from a buyer's perspective. Yeah. And so we tend to have our newer agents that have never sold real estate come in as a buyer's specialist. It doesn't mean that moving to the listing side of the business is a promotion or it's harder or better or different. In fact, our splits on the listing side are lower than what they are on the buy side because we're highly leveraged on the listing side and we have a lot of expenses outlay on the listing side. So from a commission perspective, you can run a very profitable business staying on the buy side. In fact, I've got one of the top agents on my team. He is a dedicated buyer specialist, and every now and then he'll take a sphere listing when he qualifies to do so. Typically 1 year in the business, can demonstrate the ability to have a listing conversation and present to our team to show us that he can do the listing presentation, run all pricing by the listing team, and be a part of our listing meetings. But for the most part, we said, look, we're going to start you off on the buy side. You can earn the right to learn the listing side. If you become seasoned and you do a handful or, we'll call it like a dozen transactions, or you're on our team for a year and you've got somebody in your world that you could literally roll up in flip-flops and earn their business, meaning you don't have to sit in their living room and earn the opportunity. That's why we call it a flip-flop listing. It's not flipping. Then you can earn the right to take this opportunity and we will support you in doing that. But the reason that we do that is because I think this is even scientific, that it's very hard to change your brain from one type of activity to the other. And when you're super hyper focused on a particular activity or a style of doing business, you get more efficient at it and you become more productive at it and you become a specialist. And I think that's what people are really looking for, is to have people that have this expert knowledge. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. People are looking for somebody that has this expert knowledge in their field, especially in this market.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. I want to compliment you on your marketing. I love your marketing. Very consistent. It's always fresh and unique. And it's exciting even when I see it on like lawn bags, like in my neighborhood, I can't go walk my dog without seeing 30 Anna K lawn, leaf bags with your branding on it, and it looks good. Like, oh, who doesn't want to work with that agent? And they're advertising for you, and also as a neighbor who doesn't love getting free lawn bags, right? Like it's.
I think I personally dropped them at your house.
Oh, okay, all right.
Now that I know where you live.
Yeah.
Well, the best part of that whole strategy for us was that the city of Atlanta would not come pick them up. They would not come pick up the lawn bags. It was like months of debris on the side of the road with the Anna K in town. And it's just like, I was getting videos from like the mailman and like, your bags are still out here. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, no, it worked forever. I mean, no, that was genius.
Pretty brilliant. I love it.
What other sort of marketing do you do that may be kind of considered a little bit different and unique?
Well, I think what people need to be considering is not doing everything. It's really easy to follow every shiny object of like, oh my God, this person did that. And look at this marketing piece. And like, and I love my team, but I get a lot of that, like this person put this piece out and this person, like, let's do all these things. And all of a sudden we're just chasing everything like a dog, right? And so you have to understand what type of value you provide. So there's this term in the market, and I don't want to give Gary Keller 100% credit because I don't know if he made it up or maybe it's a well-known term, but the idea of a MOFR. Are you familiar with what that is?
No.
Okay. So a MOFR is make offers for immediate response. Okay. So any marketing that you put out into the world should be something that solves a problem or allows somebody to want to come eat at your buffet. And I use the restaurant analogy because if people are hungry, they can eat dinner anywhere, right? What's going to drive them into your restaurant? And you need to be thinking about that. What's going to make your phone ring? So if that could be a seller valuation tool, that could be, a Mother's Day special, $500 off commission. It could be whatever it is that's going to allow you to stand out and create value for people to call you. That's what marketing is, right? Lead generation is you calling them. Marketing is them calling you. So you have to don't do everything. Do some testing. I mean, I don't have a marketing background. Everything that we do is just like, did we like it? Did it work? How many times do we need to do that? I think there was a statistic out there that talks about farming a neighborhood. And I think you need to do it consistently, like mailing every 3 weeks over an 18-month period before you even start to begin to see traction. And so a lot of the times that we get people call, they're like, we get your postcards all the time. And it's not because I just sent it once or twice or even 15 times. It's been years. So you have to it's time over task and the consistency of it. And half the time, they don't even care what it looks like or what it says. It's just subliminal recognition that this person is in my neighborhood, whether that be signs in the yard or open houses on the weekend with directionals and balloons. Like you're just creating the appearance that you're everywhere all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, distilling what you're saying, like if I had to like wrap up what I've heard so far, the first half of this episode, you like people are probably listening saying, that's great. I don't have time to do the marketing. And I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. And you're like, well, if you had an assistant, you would have time, right? And you have you have those systems and processes in place. It is a machine because you have time to think of, hey, let's send out a postcard every 3 weeks. And this is your task. It's not yours. You're not writing it. You're not designing it. You're not putting the stamps on it. We need to do this. And it'll pay for itself because if I do it and this person's going to do it, we're all going to make more money. We're going to get more listings. We're going to get more business. And it just sort of feeds upon itself. I love it.
100%. And look, I'm not going to say anything here that I haven't talked with my staff and she knows, like, look, she and I are not designers. Now you can go hire a designer, you can get them on a retainer. They can design templates. Some people have that knack and really enjoy doing it. And I do, but it's not the best use of my time. And she's more of an operator. She's not a marketer, but she's in charge of our marketing. And there have been pieces that have gone out that I'm like, that's not what I want to put out there. But you know what? It went out. And that's what matters. That's what matters.
No,
it has to get out.
I agree. Some people will never send it out because it's not perfect, and sending something out is better than sending nothing out. And just
100%.
just get your name out there, and you're trying. You can improve upon it later. No one's going to hold you against one bad marketing postcard or social media post or whatever it is.
I had a mentor, and maybe she'll listen to this, Deborah Blue. She's amazing. She was my very first Ignite teacher at Keller Williams. She's still with Keller Williams 15 years ago. And she had a marketing campaign that I think she mailed a certain amount of homes every 3 weeks. And every single time she sent it, I think all it said was like, everything that I touch turns to sold. Now, like, I know that's like your average cheesy real estate line, but it's like, and she had like a picture of a house and maybe it was not even her listing and she got permission from that person to market it, or like that she knew that it had sold in the neighborhood, whatever. But the message remained the same, and it was so consistent over time, and people just grabbed it and they would throw it away, throw it away. But guess what? Deborah Blue was in their mailbox every month, and they knew Deborah Blue worked the neighborhood, and she crushed it as a result of that. So you don't have to come up with something snazzy every time. Just get it out.
Yeah.
Be consistent, right?
Right. I don't use the most creative marketing on my signature. It says like top 1% agent in Atlanta, which basically means I'm in like the top 10,000 agents in Atlanta. Like it's not hard to be in the top 1%. Like if you qualify, I think you have to sell like 5 million a year.
But nobody knows that.
Yeah, no one knows that.
Nobody knows that.
I mean, my mom's impressed by it, but like, if some other clients that don't know me and they're on some email, they're gonna be like, oh, wow, this guy knows what they're doing. So, yeah, just put something on there, and I like it. You're branding yourself. So if you change, like if Deborah Blue changed her marketing every single postcard and had a different tagline, that's not going to work, right? You got to ingrain it in someone's brain over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, look, okay, Mark Spain, huge mentor of mine. I mean, got his own thing going on now, but what does he put out there? What's his
guaranteed home sold, right?
And you know that. You don't have to think twice about it. He doesn't send a different postcard out every month.
I think he's had the same damn picture for 20 years. He's aged a little bit since then.
He's not the only one that offers that. A lot of people offer guaranteed home sales. The only thing I have a problem with is that he says he's the only realtor that's ever been endorsed by Barbara Corcoran. But Barbara Corcoran has endorsed me before, just not publicly. Well, on my books. She's endorsed me on my books. I've always wanted to, if I ever meet Mark Spain, I'm like, you got to stop saying that. You're one of 2 agents endorsed by Barbara Corcoran. But you don't have to be creative. It just needs to be redundant or repetitive, and your marketing
consistent.
Has to be consistent, right? That's it. That's it in a nutshell.
Which, by the way, is a theme with almost everything in real estate. You can't,
in general.
Yeah. So that's in general, right? So James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, right? So he has this great quote, and we actually talked about it on our huddle today. Love his book. He says, every action you take is a vote for the person whom you wish to become. And I think he goes on to say it's not a singular action that changes your identity. It's that action over time, doing it repetitively, that is who you become, right? So whether you want to be seen as somebody who like gets up and lead gens every day, gets up and exercise every day, gets up and crushes whatever you're going to crush in your business, it's not because you do it 1, 2, or 10 times. It's because you take that small action, you do it over time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, it's improving upon yourself. You're rewarding your future self. Obviously, if you want to run a marathon, you got to start, run a half mile, right? And so, but if you want to be that top agent, you got to start with postcards, right? And you just don't stop. And as long as you jog every few days, or you'll get to marathon level. And as long as you keep that repetitive, consistent cast, you're gonna.
Well, I didn't start with postcards because postcards are what?
It's fairly cheap. Yeah.
They're expensive, right?
Yeah.
Right. But what's free?
Social media,
calling people,
email,
door knocking,
texting, all that stuff. Yeah.
So you don't have to have a big pocketbook. You just have to have the habit to do the things.
Yeah. So I find myself lately, after reading Who Not How, I find myself like outsourcing things so that other people can make me have good habits. I think I'm cheating a little bit on the habit thing. So by having a trainer show up at my house 4 times a week, like he's making me have good habits because he shows up and I exercise. And then I hired a person that helps me meal prep my meals for the week. And that's really good because now I have a helper and she will prep my meals. And now I eat healthy every night because she prepped all my meals. So I don't have to spend the time prepping my meals. So I think like sometimes you could actually think around like also in your business, like if you have that person, they can make sure that the cards go out. Now all of a sudden it seems like you're consistent, but really you just have a person that's very consistent, making sure this stuff is happening. So habits are one of those interesting things that, yes, you have to have willpower, but you can also cheat a little bit by having people help you establish.
I don't want that food prep person's number.
Yes.
A.
Yes.
And B, how many times would you get up a week and work out if he didn't show up at your door or she?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay. So how is that any different than hiring someone? Right. So I think that was a big eye opener for me, was that accountability is on the, their livelihoods are on the line. My staff doesn't have a living. They can't make a living if I'm not getting up and making sure that our business is operating the way it should. Right. And that's a lot. That's a lot of weight, but it's a huge reward. Mm-hmm. I remember the first time one of the agents on my team made $100,000, and that was a pretty long time ago because many of them have made three plus times that. And I could not believe that I had created an opportunity to allow somebody else to earn 6 figures when I had gotten into the real estate business. I think I was making $52,000 a year at a job with, health benefits and all these things. And I just couldn't get my head around commission only. Like I just couldn't get my head around that. Yeah. And then one day I was like, okay, I just need to make more than $52,000 a year. And then it was like, oh my God, I did that. Then it was like, okay, now I'm going to make $52,000 a month. And I remember the first time that I made $52,000 in one day, and it blew my mind. It like blew my mind. And now I'm creating those opportunities for other people. And that's a level of accountability that if you say, you know what, I love selling real estate. I'm great at sales, but I really also love people. I love solving problems and challenges. There's a path for you in real estate that's not just sales. But you have to earn the respect. You can't just show up and lead a team if you've never done the things. So you start by just doing the things, and then people will show up because they're like, I see where you've gotten. I see what you've done. How do I get there?
Yeah. Well, I think you're also bringing opportunities to yourself, that things that you probably never fathomed now come to you. And I want to touch upon you and your reality TV show on Bravo called that a few years ago, Buying It Blind. Was that something that someone reached out to you and saw your success? Is that something where you reached out and you're like, guys, I've proven myself? I'm a reality TV guy. I don't know if you know this. I've been on about 5 or 6 different reality TV shows, but I've never had my own series. But
it sounds like you have a healthy habit. No, I did not seek this out. It was one of those things that I tried really hard to not do, that it kept showing back up, that I'm like, okay. Because look, if you're in real estate and you're at all on the radar, people pass your name around. Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. People pass your name around of like, you get those emails like, we're looking for the right couple to buy this home and renovate this property for some known network. I had a listing manager on my team. He was a Bravo fanatic. And he answered the phone one day, and it was just, to me, it was just like another inquiry. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. Right. And I had a 1.5-year-old at the time. And I had just bought a new office space. So I had a lot going on. And he was like, no, you need to call these people back. And I was like, what makes them special? He's like, it's Bravo. I was like, they didn't say that. There was like some company that was like, he just did a lot of research and he found it out. So I was like, fine, I'll call them. So when they explained the show to me, I said, look, I don't actually have Bravo on my TV, but what little I know about Bravo, and I'm sure there's a lot of Bravo fans out there, I just don't get swept up in the drama. Like I'm not like I can't do the housewives stuff. It's just not my thing.
Right.
And so I just envisioned like my entire career going down the toilet because of like something that was misrepresented and like some cat fight between, me and a Remax agent or something. I was like, this is not going to be how this ends. Okay. I've worked too hard. And so I got the producer on the phone and we did a number of Zoom consults. And I think, and I will pat myself on the back here because I think they wanted something different than your typical Bravo person, because there was, a handful of agents that they interviewed that like do their hair and makeup every day. And like, this is probably the best I've looked in a very long time. So I was just like, look, I'm not your girl. Like I burp in the car, like I'm not who you're looking for. And I think that the fact that I kind of exhibited that authenticity, they kind of kept coming back, plus the fact that I was demonstrating that I was an expert in the field. Yeah. And what they really wanted to have were experts. And once I realized that that was the name of the game, I said, okay, you got my attention, because if you're going to paint me anything other than a professional, I'm not your person. Yeah. And so they found a really talented designer. They found a contractor who's also a real estate agent here in Atlanta. And they formed this team that had great chemistry. And we had 6 episodes. There were 6 different sets of buyers in a market where there was still no inventory. And these buyers were frustrated. They were divorcing. They were unhappy. They didn't have the budget for renovations. They just couldn't, they couldn't make decisions about anything. Or they had multiple real estate agents or whatever. And they were coming to Bravo, begging for help to be on the show called Buying It Blind. And that was where I got to go out and preview what felt like 100 properties per couple all over the city of Atlanta, Metro, all the way up to Lake Lanier, to find something that would not only fit their budget, would be something that was unattractive enough that would be really great for a show, like a flip, love it or list it, flip this house or whatever, and also create a dramatic story that Bravo would say, okay, we're in. So I would go find these properties and I'd be like, this is the property for these people. And Bravo would be like, not ugly enough. Are you kidding? Like, and there was no inventory. And so they would buy it sight unseen. And I would literally pick them up. We would blindfold them. This is very authentic. They would not see the house. They would not have the address. It was already under contract. In the show, they had closed on it before they saw it, but legally that was not possible. So we would drive them and have like a little car cam. We'd drive them to their house. We'd talk about it. They'd have all these nerves. They were like really nervous about it. They would get there. We would unblindfold them. They would see it. Most of them started crying.
Not of joy or not, because it was ugly. Yeah.
This is before, right?
I would say one out of the 6 was surprised that they really loved it, which I was nervous about it because I thought she was going to hate it. But the other 5 cried because they were like terrified. They were like, what did you do? Like, this was our biggest investment. You totally dropped the ball here. And then we would bring in my designer and my contractor, and we would hear what they wanted based on all the things they were struggling with, and we would renovate it for them. And then we'd bring them back for a secondary reveal with the blindfolds, and they loved it. Yeah. And it was a great show. I was pregnant the entire time. So if you saw this show, it looks like I had 6 babies. Because every episode I had a baby. And I was really, really grateful to have done it. I learned that I really don't want to work in TV, that I really respect the level of professionalism and how hard those guys work. And I'm a realtor. I'm a business owner. And that was on top of everything I was doing. So, check the box. Happy to do it. I hope you guys can watch it. I think it's Bravo on demand.
Yeah, I see it on. There's 3 episodes on, I guess, YouTube, it looks like. That's
awesome.
So
it was fun.
Did that lead to anyone reaching out and generating? Was it a business success in any fashion?
I would say overall, it was a life experience. When you are new talent, and I'm probably giving away too many secrets here, but I paid for all my own hair and makeup. I had to buy all my own maternity wardrobe. And I didn't really get paid very much for it. And so it was like, look, you're new talent, you get exposure. I think it gave me recognition. I think a lot of people that knew me were proud to see me on it. I got a bunch of calls from all over the US that could we do that for them? But I'm like, I'm here in Atlanta. Like, I can't help you in Minneapolis. Like, I mean, I can refer you to somebody, but we couldn't bring the team to them is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So I'm so grateful that I did it. It's just one of those things, you know, my youngest son was on Bravo. How many babies get to say that?
Totally.
It was great. And my coworkers, my co-hosts, if you will, we keep in touch and we laugh about the good old days because it was quite a journey.
Quite a journey.
Yeah.
I love it. So I'm curious about, so that to me, that feels like something you would do when you're kind of like, you're out there creating a buzz around your business, right? And so you could kind of equate that to working really hard on building like a social media presence and a name for your team, right? And so I wonder, like, we have, both Alan and I, we have been like working really hard on our social media stuff. That's been kind of like the theme for this year. And we're posting our TikToks and IG lives, and we're all up in it. But then sometimes I wonder, like, the amount of time and effort it takes to build that, like you were saying, it took so much time out of your day-to-day life. And then when you look back, or like, you know, when we look back a year from now on, with all of our social media efforts, like, is it a type of thing that like you just really need to focus on your business? Or does that make sense? Does this question make sense?
It does, yes. And I will wholeheartedly tell everyone, including myself, that I did not leverage the Bravo opportunity simply because I was tired. I mean, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Literally after we finished filming, I had a baby. And I mean, like, I was like, and I don't have like a marketing team. So like, you don't see like as seen on Bravo and all my emails, and I'm probably not milking that for all it's worth. But what I will tell everyone listening is I feel like as real estate professionals, mortgage lenders, like, and maybe not so much you, Jasmine, because you're not out there looking at houses, you know, you have a different business model, but people like want to be nosy. They want to see what you're doing. They want to know like what's the nitty gritty, like the fact that, you know, there's a guy out of Florida that I follow who I really respect in our company. And he, like, half of his videos are like in his car, just like chit chatting around it's some neat thing that he just saw. Like, and it's not even like contrived or anything like that. It's just authentic and real. And I think if you can just layer that into your day to day and not have to make it such a, here's our social media schedule, here's how it's all going to, like, people just want to engage and they want to feel like it's a one-to-one connection versus a one-to-many. You know, so if you're getting online, you're talking on, you know, to your YouTube people, or you're talking to your TikTok or whatever it is, and you're saying, hey guys, versus like, hey, I'm talking to you. Like, people want to feel like they're in their own little private portal, having like a sort of voyeuristic view of what's happening in your world. And you can only do that by the words that you choose and the level of authenticity that you give them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's exactly. You want it to feel like a FaceTime or a Zoom call with your friend, right? And then they trust you, and they really are more engaged that way. And you're not just broadcasting a commercial. No,
I wouldn't say that I'm like the expert marketer. Like, I don't know that I've nailed that, right? Like, nobody's going to put me up on stage because I have like 100,000 followers. I mean, I've got like 3,000.
Yeah, but you're a really good marketer, though.
I appreciate you saying that. I think I just kind of, I'm not quiet. Like, I'm not a silent agent. I think you have to, you know, when I go out, I wear sweatshirts that say real estate life. Like, just put yourself out there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I guess I always have this question of like, especially for me, like, I'm on the lending side of things. So people kind of expect it to be a little bit more of a stuffy mortgage banker, right? And so I've always kind of, being that I've been doing this for a couple of decades, like, I've just always had like very professional, you know what I mean? Like a very professional relationship with my real estate agents and with my clients. And now I'm finding with the social media, like, now I'm like, okay, so I'm going to be in my kitchen making a cup of coffee in my bathrobe talking to you. You know what I mean? It just feels like, but I feel that's where things are going. I feel like that's what people want. People want the authentic. You're not perfectly staged, but how do you keep it professional?
They want to see the bloopers. I mean, they do. Like, you keep it professional by not dropping F-bombs and getting in lingerie.
Right.
You just can be authentic, right? It just, I don't know. Like, I think that's people are craving that right now, because if you think about what social media has done, it's sort of removed it's replaced a lot of in-person relationships. And this business is always going to be belly to belly. And the closest thing that you can get to that is being more directly authentic and really just yourself. And like, I know some people that aren't like overly gregarious or hilariously funny that have a really great following because they're just out there being who they are, and they're not trying to be somebody they're not.
I want to leave you with something that I've sort of lifted from you, but I'm curious whether this was purposeful. On your, like, I noticed every time I saw you, you would wear like a Atlanta, like the Built-A-Bong hat or whatever, the beef jerky hat, or you had an Atlanta shirt on, or some restaurant like hoodie or something like that. And I'm like, every time I see Anna K, like I look at her and I'm like, that woman knows Atlanta. Like, and you're just wearing a shirt of some like local business, and I'm like, I need to start doing that. Like, you're really representing Atlanta, but it's not like, it seems authentic, it seems natural. Like, oh, I like this restaurant, I want to buy their hat. Is that a purposeful thing that you do? Yeah,
it's you've made me realize I've just gotten a lot of free swag, and I tend to wear
it works. Yeah.
I did not pick up on that, but I do. Yeah. So I did make Anna K in Town t-shirts. Everybody on my team has them. Sometimes we give them as referral gifts, or like to like referral agents in other cities. Like when they send us something, it says Anna K in Town Atlanta. Like, we're starting to get a little bit more purposeful about that. And then I just, my husband, every time he goes to Druid Hills, he plays tennis, he's always pimping the Anna K in Town shirt. And I'm like, all right, babe.
That's a place to promote. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Totally appreciate it.
Yeah. No. So anyway, compliments. Like, you're just naturally good, like selling yourself and selling yourself, solidifying yourself as an Atlanta expert, whether, naturally. So yeah, kudos to you. If someone's listening to this and they say, I want to work for the Anna K team, or how do they reach out to you? What would you, Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for reminding me of that. I'm not always great at selling myself in these ways, but I will say that we are always in business looking for talent, right? So while we may not have a spot like today, or maybe we do have a spot today, I think it just depends on how talented you are. I'd love to hear from you, or if you've got any questions, I'm always happy to help people with their business. My email address is Anna K, that's ANNAK, at Anna K, the letter K, in town, like in town Atlanta.com. Anna K at AnnaKintown.com, or you can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram at Anna Kilinski. All eyes.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anna. This has been wonderful. I always feel like you're one of those agents. Whenever I bump into you, I leave learning something about how I can be a better agent.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah. Appreciate it very much, and looking forward to bumping into you and learning more from you, and hopefully have you back on as a guest one day.
It'd be my honor.
Thank you for listening to the Agent Upgrade Podcast. If you are an agent looking for a new mortgage lender, start with Jasmine at jasmineteam.com. If you want to learn about real estate investing and working with investors, check in with Alan at thehouseofac.com. See you next time on Agent Upgrade.